This is Marketing Jam, a show featuring the brightest minds in marketing. Marketing Jam is brought to you by Cyber Impact, the email marketing platform made specifically for Canadian small businesses. Go to cyberimpact.com/jelly, create a free account, and start sending Castle-compliant promotional emails in just a few clicks.
Hey, welcome back to Marketing Jam. Shaheed, Devji here, and really excited to be sitting next to Rich from Buzzfeed. Buzzfeed, a huge brand in the digital space, and what it is today is probably not what it was when it first began. Can you tell us a little bit about what Buzzfeed was when it first started, and then when did you join the train?
Yeah, so Buzzfeed's been around for 11 years now, and it started as this small shop in Chinatown, New York, and it was really just experimenting with content that people would share. That was it. It was this fascination with connecting people over content. And that has obviously spawned into what Buzzfeed is today, which is the leading independent tech media company in the world. But we've kept that philosophy from the beginning, which is creating shareable content that connects people and is of service to our audience. It's just a very simple approach that has led to what we see today. I've been at the company for 2.5 years. It feels like a lifetime with the speed that things are evolving and what we're doing. But it's been brilliant. It was a great move for me personally and professionally to join the company.
11 years ago, I mean, that was the beginning of sort of the shareable digital generation, right? So using the word experimenting is very relevant. I would say, and I'm sure you would agree, that Buzzfeed was a pioneer in that space, right? Would you think so?
Yeah, I think so. But again, that wasn't necessarily an objective. I think it was a much more simple objective of like, let's just keep making content that people are responding to.
As a response to a gap, maybe, you think? Or
potentially,
just testing?
Potentially. I mean, you look, I look back to times where you would get an email that someone sends to you saying, oh, I thought you would really like this. I mean, my dad still will send me an email of something he thinks I'll like, or even going back further, it's a newspaper cutting, of something. My dad would cut out soccer news and leave it on my bed or something like that. There's this amazing thing about just connecting with people over content, and we've always done it. And I think for a lot of people, there's the feeling that the digital world is pulling people apart or putting up barriers, or really what our aim is to bring people together, and it works. We've built a devoted audience by being devoted to them in making sure that's our approach.
Okay, so we're obviously at a conference, a marketing conference here, and Buzzfeed today, it looks a lot different, I think, than initially it did. The listicles, the articles initially are still a part of it, but how would you define Buzzfeed today and in the work that you do as the executive creative director? What is Buzzfeed now?
I mean, it's, we're still a tech media company. We still fall in that space, but yeah, we've evolved massively. And to your point, we still deliver quizzes. Quizzes are growing. Our audience and for people taking BuzzFeed quizzes is ever growing, and it's monumental, it's massive. And then, lists again are just as popular as they always were. We definitely evolve and roll with time and with the digital space expanding. And it's now led to us having this series of ever-growing, fantastic media brands that are covering sort of verticals of certain worlds in the digital space. But they're also moving from, as we would say, like from URL to IRL. For Tasty, for example, we now have a product line of fantastic cooking utensils that we sell in Walmart stores, and that's all spawned from our approach to refreshing cooking content and delivering cooking content that's highly relatable on a human connection level. So we keep growing, but our mission stays the same, and I expect us to continue to grow at the rate that we are.
Talk a little bit about the balance that maybe you and your role need to have, or maybe I'm wrong here, but I find that a lot of the content that was popular initially or over the years with BuzzFeed, I think back to the dress and the different colors and simple things like that on the surface maybe don't need a lot of production and production value. They certainly need direction, but is there a balance that you need to have in terms of how much to put into something to stay on brand even?
Yeah, I think if you get too caught up in aesthetics, then you're actually killing the raw creativity of something, under the surface. So, moments like the dress or even the Facebook Live video where we saw how many
watermelon.
The exploding watermelon.
Yeah.
There's no reason to shoot that beautifully, to light it perfectly. That was a real thing. We were messing around. I remember I was in the office writing an email on my phone, watching these guys do it. I mean, it happened. It was the thing that we did. We didn't need to overly produce it. And I think that's the wonderful thing about the digital space. I don't think there's snobbery about aesthetics and certain like overly planned creative execution to things, which I think is great. Again, it's real. It's accessible. And I think you can see that with brands too. I think it used to be that brands held the power. They had the products that people wanted, and they would have this glossy imagery or these perfect commercials that made you aspire, made you feel like you needed their product. You really needed to reach out and grab it. That's changed, and I think the digital scene is what's really changed that. To now, the consumer holds all the power. Brands need to work a lot harder to actually connect with the brand and connect with the consumer and convince them that their product, their brand is the one worth their time. So I think with that, again, has come this sort of erosion of like overly planned or creative direction. However, having said that, we do take the content we do very seriously. I mean, we're not intentionally rushing it out or making it look scruffy. I mean, if you look at a Tasty video, they're beautifully shot, they're beautifully lit, down to the framing and the interactions and how we ramp the speed in certain sections, slow it down in others. So it varies across what we're doing, and when we're partnering with different people, we're well aware that certain brands do still have certain things they take very seriously. We're not going to encourage a brand to partner with us and make a bit of content that seems a bit scruffy or seems a bit rushed. We want our partners to have a fantastic experience working with us, and we'll mold and adapt.
Someone with the title creative director, I mean, what's your background like? Because I know there might be some push and pull with some creative directors not to focus on lighting properly all the time and the best audio. Is that a struggle that you've had personally, or are you all game for this I guess new type of direction?
Yeah, I mean, I'm at an advantage. I think I didn't come from the ad world. I came from a storytelling world. And in that sense, it's all about the story, right? It's all about the story. It's all about connecting with the audience, and so that's always been my obsession. So maybe it was a bit. I was, in a bit of an advantage coming into that. However, I massively respect, obviously, and look up to creative directors in the more traditional ad world and creative agency world. I think, things are changing, and there's both sides need to learn from each other. I think the traditional media, sort of legacy media or traditional advertising space, can learn from a lot of what the digital publishers are doing, and vice versa. There's learnings both ways. So when you were talking about the initial birth of BuzzFeed, you mentioned creating content that resonated with an audience and that people enjoyed consuming, and you've been talking about that throughout because that is the purpose. But you also mentioned sort of brands and their products kind of being the priority, and them having to maybe shift from that and focus on the consumer a lot. Are you seeing that as one of the biggest trends now in marketing, that it has to be consumer first all the time and not necessarily product first, even though that seems so obvious now? I just think the results speak for themselves. I think the brands that are communicating in the best ways at the moment are the ones that are thinking about their consumer, not thinking just about themselves and their own identity. Or on the other hand, there's certain brands that are revealing more about themselves, so that people can realize that they're not out of reach. That they're just people too. So there's a few different ways of approaching it, but I think there is a fundamental shift going on, which is great for the consumer and great for the brand, so should be embraced.
So you've been talking about partnerships. In terms of partnerships, we've got your traditional style where there's advertising, and there always has been, and there maybe always will be. That's maybe remain to be seen. But what are some unique ways that you guys are partnering with brands in your creative content that still allows that creative content to be as organic and natural as possible?
We're very proud of the fact that we kind of offer something for everyone in terms of partnership. We really see ourselves as a full service sort of destination, I guess, for ad solutions. In Canada, we've recently released our sort of low touch video product, which is based off our mountain of learnings that we have. It's a way for a brand that have smaller budgets to just play with us, do something that we know is going to perform very, very well for them and with our audience.
Is that specific to Canada or just released in Canada?
No,
in to other places?
it's we've launched it in our international markets, and it's had fantastic results. But then, we're full spectrum. So on the other side, we've also opened up, much sort of bigger commercial partnerships where we can make, much more premium, like almost TV commercial-esque content in sort of quality. To making series together with brands, to throwing events, to doing pop-ups through our different franchises. So if you look at some of our media brands, there's so much potential to get involved beyond just making a piece of content with us. With Tasty, you can make content, but you can also be involved in events and pop-ups that we're doing around Tasty as well. And we're seeing that we can be full funnel with a lot of, we're encouraging action. We're instigating action on the behalf of the consumer. People aren't just watching a Tasty video; they're going out and buying those ingredients to make the content, to make the food themselves, and then they're taking pictures of the food and sharing it all with their friends. So,
and that's a natural progression. So it feels quite organic, right?
Yeah, and it's great for brands to be part of that. They are being of use to the consumer.
Yeah, exactly. So do you find that there is much pushback for innovation in that, you guys have grown a lot and you continue to grow and offer new services. But I asked the question because I don't know if you've heard of Daily Hive. Daily Hive is, I'll say, similar in that, it starts as a blog, very, singularly focused on providing content that's of use to a local audience and, what's going on around town, but has grown into a full service publication online in Canada. But they receive pushback when they grow and when they offer certain types of content and offer certain types of partnerships within that content. Do you see pushback, and is there hesitation for innovation because of that, or is anything fair game?
No, I mean, I think pushback from
your audiences,
from the audience.
Yeah.
No, I think again we're always putting audience first. We're listening to them, what they want, and we're adapting with that. So, as I said, some things that people love and are ever growing, like our quizzes, we're just going to keep doing them to people until they're like, all right, enough is enough.
So it's not one thing in favor of another, right?
No. I mean, we don't want to abandon things that we're doing if our audience are consuming them. We definitely don't put innovation first. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We let our audience show us the way, and by doing that, we shouldn't experience pushback.
Yeah, and that seems like an obvious thing to do, but it almost is novel right now, where innovation and trying the newest and latest thing seems like the thing to do. Do you see that in other areas where people are maybe too quick to jump to the new thing and abandon the old thing?
Yeah, I find innovation a really complicated word, because for a lot of the time, especially when it comes to advertising, it'll mean let's try something crazy, something quirky, you know. I think you can have an innovative approach to what you do. It doesn't need to mean a stunt or something wild or a complete roll of the dice and just see what the hell happens. You know, I think you can be innovative in your thinking just by having good insights that are your foundation layer or a swim lane for you to then experiment in and be innovative in, rather than just trying something sweeping and crazy. So, you know, we were named by Fast Company as the most innovative company in the world, but that doesn't mean that we're just trying crazy stuff all the time. You know, we're following direction from our audience. We really think through what we're doing, and we iterate constantly. A lot of the time with innovation, it's a crazy splash at something, and oh, it didn't work, don't worry about it, we'll try another crazy thing over here and a crazy thing over there. We don't approach things that way. We approach things as a constant evolving experiment that we're learning from the whole time. That's an innovative approach. So yeah, it's a complicated word, but I think, you know, to the point that the speaker was saying earlier about chasing squirrels, I think you do need to have a focus and a patience with what you're doing. You can't just constantly be jumping to the next thing.
We've talked a lot about video already. Is that where a lot of the focus is going for you guys on video, and do you see that changing anytime soon?
There is a lot happening in video. I mean, video is seen by a lot of people as the best way to tap into large audiences, and it's a highly interactive medium. People share and comment a lot, but we're still seeing incredible performance with our posts and with our quizzes. And, you know, not every medium is for everyone, but video is a very large part of what we're doing.
Absolutely. So what's the favorite thing that you've worked on in the 2+ years that you've been with BuzzFeed?
I'm very, very excited by Bring Me. Bring Me is our travel and experience media brand that we've launched, which is just, I don't like to use the word disruption, but I guess like kind of refreshed travel online. As I was saying at the conference, you know, travel online now, you know, you search for travel advice, it's the same top 10 things you can predict in all cities. The Eiffel Tower is coming up, the Louvre is coming up in Paris. Or, you know, or travel is really, any curiosity you have around travel is, the response is prices, bargain deals, and you better hurry and act now. Or it's sort of mass opinion on things with, you know, people kind of writing reviews on things. Or it's highly aspirational content. It's these remote beaches that are stunning, but you never could afford to get there, or, you know, or to get there and it not be mobbed with tourists. You have to be there at like 5 o'clock in the morning or something like that. We want to push all that to the side and deliver, you know, solutions within travel and inspiration within travel that is within reach, which is things you want to do with other people, that is unlocking things like in Vancouver you never knew existed and look amazing and you want to do with your friends, or just, you know, providing like cool advice and like a utility to people that are looking to spend their hard-earned money on a cool experience or something different, don't necessarily want the top 10 and don't necessarily want to go to tourist swamped places. So I'm very, very excited by that. I like traveling myself, and it's rapidly growing as our media brand. So yeah.
You traveled from London to New York. When did you do that? When did you make the trek over to the States? Was it for BuzzFeed?
It was about, no, it wasn't actually. It was for college. It was about 13 years ago, I think.
Okay, all right. So would you consider yourself equal parts American at this point, or not?
I'm married to an American.
Okay, so yes. Yeah.
So yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I've got a bit of a weird accent. I've got this kind of mid-Atlantic thing going on. So
yeah, and the longer you stay, the weirder it'll get, right?
It's true.
And I noticed you did say the word soccer and not football.
It's terrible.
Does that pain you to do that?
It does, and I'm embarrassed that I did. Some of my friends will be very upset right now. It depends where I am. I'll adapt. I'm a chameleon. I'll adapt. Yeah. In England, I wouldn't dare say
I'm
soccer.
receptive to the word soccer. We've got a soccer team here, the Vancouver Whitecaps, and you've got a soccer team in New York that they play against each other. Have you found yourself supporting the MLS more as you've kind of set up in the States?
I've been to some great MLS games. I think as an Englishman, when you have your football team, it's very difficult to ever have a second team. You just have your team. So which is Arsenal.
I'm a Liverpool fan, so good thing we didn't say that at the beginning.
You're doing better than us right now.
Yeah,
but
this year.
No, I think it's really cool what's happening with the MLS in the US. I hope it continues growing. I've said for a long time it's not long before the US win the World Cup.
Yeah. It won't be the next one though. So
no, maybe not.
Yeah.
One day.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for taking some time.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for chatting.
Great conversation.
Cool. Thanks, man.